you and welcome back to Race Week 2021. What is an NFT? We are going to be talking about this. George Tamayo, who is going to be our host on this webinar, which is presented to you by racer.com. And I think George is coming on, and then Taro Koki, who is going to be with us any second. So George, you help us understand what NFTs are with Taro. So you guys are on for the next 25 minutes. I think there's a lot of anticipation on that one.
I hope so. Thanks. Thank
you. Thanks for the intro.
Hey, Taro, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good, thank you. So let's jump right in. Taro, you, just to give a quick introduction, you are have a long background in YouTube video production. You were the founder or co-founder, I think, of GT Channel some years ago, and now you've moved into this new space called NFT, and you started a new company called Kuruma NFT.
Yes.
But before we learn a little bit about what Kuruma does, we got to figure out what an NFT is, right? It's a word I think that we're hearing a lot about in the news and in the tech space lately.
Yep.
So let's try and figure out what an NFT is. And it starts with this sort of funny word called a non-fungible token is what NFT stands for. And it has that funny word fungible in it. So let's figure out first what fungible means. Can you give us a little bit of a background on that?
Yeah, sure. So fungible means that it could be replaced or exchanged with another identical item of the same value, right? So a dollar bill is, I give you a dollar bill, you give me a dollar bill, they're fungible.
They're the tradable. Same. Each dollar bill is unique in a sense that I have one, you have one, but it doesn't matter if I go to the store and I want to buy something and I have $3 in my wallet, I can pick any one of those three and hand it over to the cashier and it works, right?
Yep.
Now, non-fungible tokens, NFTs, are what?
So a non-fungible, the easiest way to describe a non-fungible thing is the Mona Lisa, for example, right? There's only one Mona Lisa and it can't be reproduced. That is a non-fungible. And a non-fungible token is a electronic token that's been created and it's absolutely unique. They have unique, like a VIN number, basically. It's a unique item, a digital item that has value and functionality at the same time.
Right. So another kind of buzzword that we're hearing a lot about that's associated with NFTs is cryptocurrency, right? So these are NFTs are generally purchased using a cryptocurrency platform.
Yeah. And
the transaction occurs on a blockchain, and a blockchain is part about what keeps that non-fungible token, that NFT, unique to the owner, right? So can you give us a little bit of detail and insight into what the blockchain is and how the NFT lives and is traded and valued on the blockchain?
Sure. So we might need to think a little bit about money first, which makes it kind of easier to understand and why money has value in the first place, especially for those that are skeptic about cryptocurrencies and NFTs in general, because the notion of NFTs are just these gifts that any 10-year-old can create, and they're selling for thousands and hundreds of dollars. It just makes no sense to a lot of people, right? So why do we think money is valuable? It's because it's a belief system, right? It's really not because the U.S. government backs it or anything. It's because everyone believes that money is valuable. Like you and I believe, everybody believes it. It's a belief system. And crypto and NFTs are basically the same. Some people might think, why pay for a digital asset? And why do some people pay for trading cards? It's literally the same thing. And when you put these things on a blockchain, as your question, going back to your question, a blockchain is a network that it shares a public digital ledger, and it's maintained by a network of computers, right? So the information that I gave you $1 and you gave me $1, or I gave you an NFT and you paid for the NFT, is shared by everybody on the network. And that's what we call a decentralized network. And a blockchain is a decentralized network. It's not a centralized network where like a government or a bank manages and keeps track of the ledger, right? That's a centralized network. If if you go to your bank app and you pay someone, the bank assures that your money went to someone else, or it's same with like Venmo or any kind of financial app or system that we're accustomed to. Sure. But on the blockchain, it's all peer-to-peer. So when you hear about cryptocurrency and mining, that's what it's all about. It's like no one is actually regulating it because it's not a centralized system. It's all decentralized. And if I pay you a Bitcoin and you give me back a Bitcoin, or you give me a product in return, that's all on the common ledger that everybody's sharing, and that's the whole concept of a blockchain.
Right. So in effect, what you're saying then is that the blockchain is kind of the security measure that allows transparent trading of NFTs.
Correct.
Right. So and that is essentially, because one of the things that is interesting about the NFT is that, in a sense, depending on how it's used, in some cases they're used like a sort of like a virtual certificate of authenticity. In other senses, you actually almost like a publicly traded stock. You might own through the NFT either the whole piece of a artwork, let's say, or some valuable entity or commodity, or you may own a fraction of it, right? Yep. So that blockchain is ultimately what keeps track of who owns what and how each component of the NFT or how each individual NFT is traded. Does that summarize it pretty well?
That's absolutely right. Yeah. And like, just going to your point, I mean, blockchains are programmable, right? So we can, the current, like cryptocurrencies cannot be programmed. It's just a trade or a sell or buy transaction. It's a financial transaction. But for NFTs, since they're digital and programmable assets, you can expand their purpose over time, and you can actually embed a direct utility to the NFT themselves. So yes, you can have a piece of art like I have here behind me. We can mint this and turn this into an NFT, but we can also make it a token, or it could be an entrance pass, or someone who has this we can add like real life functionality to it, and even virtual functionality to it. And that's what, people are talking about, like blockchain games and NFT utility for games. It's because whoever has this, NFT can, drive their NFT in a racing game, for example, or, a utility in a racing game could be, you go out and buy new tires, for NFT tires to put on your car to make your, virtual car go faster. So that's the big difference between a cryptocurrency and an NFT.
Got it. So part of why we're talking about, this sort of technology behind what an NFT and blockchains are, and you've just brought up yet another buzzword that we're hearing a lot about, is the meta universe, right? So the meta universe, in a very somewhat simplistic form, is the virtual world, right? And so we've got all of these kind of VR type games or VR applications or virtual world games that are quite popular with younger generations at the moment, but there's applications really across a lot of generational uses. So it's important, I think, to understand how an NFT works on the technology side, so that we can get down to the fundamental question that we're here to talk about is, how do you take the concept of an NFT or an actual NFT and apply it to something in the motorsports or automotive sector? So can you give us some examples? We tend to think of NFTs mostly as attached to art, which I think is by and large how it's being used initially, but there are other ways to use NFTs. So
yes, tell
us a little bit about where you see NFTs going in the automotive and motorsport space.
Yeah, so great question. So think about NFTs as a medium, right? So you have art, like a still image, for example, or you have a 3D image, or you have a video. These are all types of mediums, right? And NFTs, you can make an NFT out of any kind of digital medium. You can get PDF, like you were saying. It could be a title, for example, and make it into an NFT, and that makes it traceable and secure and tradable, and it's literally like putting your home title into escrow and waiting for the money to come in, and then the title is transferred, right? So NFTs kind of work like that because it's on the blockchain, so it's extremely secure. And so when you have a secure piece of digital asset, the possibilities expand, because now you can use this NFT to identify, the owner. If the owner bought a NFT from, say, a racing team, for example, or a car manufacturer, they can use that NFT as a reward system or a loyalty program, for example. Kuruma is going to be creating these Kuruma trading cards, right? So whoever has a Kuruma trading card essentially becomes a member of our community, right? And in racing, the same thing is possible. Like we're trying to figure out ways to bring the digital to real life experiences. So NFTs could be your ticket to, it could be a pit pass, it could be an admission pass, right? The NFL is doing this already, right? With a certain number of games, they're actually a ticket holder gets an NFT and they get to go to a real game. It's the same kind of concept, and so that way we can actually start using NFTs as a token with function, and not just an avatar that you can you enjoy and you collect. I mean, it has that aspect obviously as a collectible as well, because a medium is attached to it, but that's not it, right? You can use that medium and program in functionality into it to do all kinds of things. And I just just mention a couple of examples, like a loyalty program or a reward system, like an airline can have, or a ticket to enter an event. But there's millions of applications out there right now that we haven't even thought of, and I haven't even mentioned all the things that we're even talking about. And that's what's really exciting for me, is like it's like the beginning of the internet. It's like the beginning of when people started watching videos on YouTube, and people were just like wondering, why the heck do you want to watch this random person's video? But now YouTube is the biggest streamer in the world, right? And that's what's happening with NFTs right now. Is like it's not just about little avatars.
So I think it's natural, as you say, anytime something new, particularly in the technology space, which is in so many ways is a thought, right? It's not a physical thing in many ways. It's a concept, right?
Yep.
It's difficult for people to sort of wrap their brains around what it is. And there are probably a lot of people out there who are thinking that NFTs are kind of a scam, or maybe they're not really understanding yet how they can really be fully utilized. So if for example, if we kind of bring this down to something that's a bit more down to earth, if for example, I own a race team, let's say. Now, race teams are always looking for methods of funding. And let's say that I happen to have a car that won a significant race, right? I could give that car to a museum, or I could keep that car in my collection, or I could do all sorts of things. But that car has value, especially among people who know what the success that car achieved is. Could I, for example, sell a part of that car as an NFT? In other words, if I sold you that part of that car, a physical piece, right? It's almost like fractional ownership, right? So now the team is monetizing, and you could say, much like if I'm a shareholder in Ford, that means I own a little tiny chunk of Ford Motor Company.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So is it sort of that way too? Is that another way to think about it? I could own something, a car, a piece of memorabilia, a piece of artwork, all of these sorts of things that race teams have as assets that right now there isn't really a good way to monetize those. Is that potentially a revenue stream?
Yes, definitely. So what you're referring to is what we call in the, in the NFT industry, a DAO, right? It's a decentralized anonymous organization. And DAOs can raise money and currency to it's like crowdsourcing Web 3.0, right? So now you can buy into this DAO, and whatever mission or vision this DAO has, it's Democrat. It is an organization that doesn't have any, central governing body. Everybody governs it, and the rules are set at the beginning. And it's a democratic system, and the DAO basically raises money and uses the money to do whatever they promised, and they reward the DAO contributors or the owners, part owners, with whatever they promised. And this could be tokens, this could be currencies, this could be real life. It could be you get a ride along, you could be a meet and greet if you show up at a race. It could be you get apparel. It could be anything, right? It's like crowdsourcing, but in a secure way because it's on the blockchain.
And so that point about it being decentralized is important. Why? In the sense that the owners of the NFT ultimately control its fate, right? The collective owners of the NFT on the blockchain determine its fate. So you're not going to have, in the case of real currency, or in the case of maybe perhaps a better example, if you own stock in a publicly traded company, the individuals who are managing that company can artificially inflate or deflate the value of that stock based upon what they do. That, if I understand it correctly, that can't happen with an NFT, because as a crowdsource or as a decentralized source, the owners of the NFT are ultimately what's determining its value. Is that correct?
Right. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an NFT, right? When you're part of a DAO, it doesn't. You don't necessarily. The NFT is just a byproduct of what you're getting in return. It doesn't necessarily connect. So an NFT can simply be, an artist creates an NFT, puts it on a marketplace such as Kuruma NFT, and you can buy it and trade it and sell it like a trading card, right? And so there's no organization attached to this DAO, to this NFT, for example, right? It's just an NFT that an artist created, and the artist decide to sell it, right? So race teams can do that too. They don't necessarily have to create a DAO to publish an NFT. They don't have to do that. They can just decide, okay, we're going to create 1,000 pit passes for the year, for example, and to come to see, our car and meet and greet or whatever, and they could just sell it, right? 1 to 1,000. It'll be 1 to 1,000, 2 of 1,000, 1,000 to 1,000. They can do that. It could be 100. It's pretty. It's up to your creativity and what the team wants to do.
And in turn, the owner of that, in this case, that pit pass could in turn sell it to somebody else down the road.
They can, yeah.
Because it's tradable, right?
They could trade it, yeah, exactly, right. And they might buy it, or they could get it for free from the team, but they can go out and sell it on the market, right? They can go and sell it for $10, or if it sells for $1,000, they can sell it for $1,000.
So why? I guess my natural question could be, in that sense, why the NFT? Why not just send somebody a code or a physical pass? What's the value of doing it via a decentralized network or via an NFT?
Well, it's secure, for one thing, right? It's secure, and it could be a creative medium attached to it. So a trading card could be a physical card, right? That you have to find a box to store it in, or an album or whatever, and it could deteriorate in time. But a digital asset is a lot more, there's a lot more liquidity to it too, because you don't actually have to, put it up on eBay and pay postage and send it, and you just put it up on a digital market, and you can trade it with someone across the world. You don't have to meet someone at, some swap meet and look through a shoebox, for example, right? So the secureness and the liquidity is what makes NFTs unique, a unique medium that we're just it's just the tip of the iceberg that we're like touching right now.
So speaking of artwork, the company you founded, Kuruma, is going to be, as you say, dealing at least initially in trading cards, which is presumably some form of original artwork that gets converted into an NFT trading card type of token, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about who you've got lined up in terms of artwork, and what kinds of different artwork Kuruma will have. And I think with that, again, one of the questions that a lot of people will have is, okay, so if I go to Kuruma and I buy let's say that piece of art behind you as an NFT, what do I get physically? What do I have?
So that's really up to what the artists and what the market, in our sense, Kuruma NFT works closely with the artists or the brand to promote and market a drop. We call it, it's like when you have a collection and you make it available to the public. So in some cases, they can actually receive a physical item in addition to the digital art, right? So this is a project that we're doing with a artist called Bakeneko. And he and Kuruma are doing a collaboration art collection. So they'll perhaps get a T-shirt or a signed poster from the artist himself, and the digital asset, right? And depending on the partners that we're talking to, it doesn't have to be a T-shirt or a poster. It can be, like we said, an admission pass, or it could be some kind of a collectible token that if you gather 10, you get something, or you get another NFT, right? So it's really up to your imagination, and that's what kind of business that we want to be in. And so on top of having the marketplace for automotive enthusiasts, we also want to make sure that the brands and the artists we work with are comfortable, and their business objectives are met. So we have an agency model where we'll work with brands and artists and work with them for a period of time, and then it will, and we'll drop it on the marketplace, and that's basically our business model.
So unfortunately, I got a message. We were hoping to have Paul Leggett join us on the show here in the last couple of minutes that we have. Paul, his name may not be familiar to a lot of people who are watching, but certainly his artwork is. He is a illustrator with us at Racer and Vintage Motorsport, and has created dozens of racer covers, as well as just a lot of the artwork that you see inside the magazine and online. And if he's able to join us, he can talk about it a little bit himself. But in the meantime, he is going to be selecting some pieces of original reissuing, essentially some racer covers. Oh, I see he might be joining us now. Paul, can you hear us? I think you might be on mute.
Yeah, I can hear you.
There you go. Welcome, Paul. So your timing is impeccable, Paul, because we were talking about NFTs and artwork and some of the artists that Kuruma will be representing, and potentially you will be one of them with some reissues of some racer covers. So tell us a little bit about what you're thinking in terms of the covers that might be reissued, and if there's any good backstories to any of those covers.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'm first off, I'm really excited about this project. And these first three that you see are my most recent covers and probably my most favorite. I believe I've done 12 or 13 in all. Each one does have a great backstory, and it includes the editor of Racer, Lawrence Foster, who basically gives me the idea of what's going to go on the cover, and we kind of hash out a few ideas. And I've worked with him so long that our talents work well together, and we usually come up with a solution that we both we both get excited about.
Some of these covers, Paul, I'm thinking of as an example, the season 2021 preview that's on the right hand side of the screen there. Some of these covers, I think there's some interesting backstories in that they are generated because obviously the sequencing of when these issues need to be created and when the real life assets exists are not always in sync, right? So sometimes these covers are created because we don't actually have access yet to the real assets going forward. So is there some good story about that you have to tell us on some of these covers?
Yeah, I'm glad that you chose the 2021 season preview. That started out as an idea from Lawrence Foster, and it's an unusual illustration for the fact that you see Formula One cars on banking.
Yeah.
Kind of fooled a few people, but that's the banking, I believe, at the Dutch Grand Prix, and the cars. Like you said, there wasn't any photo reference of the cars on track. So Lawrence and I, we just kind of put that together and tried to figure out who were going to be the leaders and points. And it looks like we kind of got them right.
Yeah.
But one thing,
well, obviously, at the Dutch Grand Prix, the banking made its debut this year in 2021, a year later than had been anticipated. But there certainly were no pictures of a grouping of cars available on that banking when this cover was created probably in January or so of 2021. Same goes for the cover there that shows kind of the Le Mans winning Mazda from 1991 and the most recent Le Mans winning Toyota LMDH car. Again, you would never kind of see those cars side by side, would you?
No, not at all. I'm really happy with that one. For a lot of facts. One, I don't think we ever had an orange and green car on the cover of Racer, and I really wanted to camp that up. So even before I drew or illustrated the cars, I sent Lawrence my idea, and you can tell that there's a lot of orange, the orange sky, and then the orange or the green below and brown. And I sent him basically a landscape comp, and I wanted, what do you think about this? And is it a little too scary to have so much orange and green on the cover? And I think it turned out quite successful. And the one reason why I love that so much is I did attend the Le Mans in 1990, the year before the Mazdas won. And I do remember that beautiful long sunset. I think that sunset starts at 6 o'clock and the sun doesn't go down till 10:30 at night. And you do see those colors. So the sky just goes off with so many different variations.
Yeah, super cool. So in terms of the artwork that you're thinking about potentially selecting for this NFT, can you give us any sneak peek on the ones that you're considering? Are any of these three potentially one of them?
Oh, all three.
Yeah. So Taro, back to you in terms of when do you see Kuruma getting online and getting to the point where people can start to bid on different artist NFTs?
Early next year. So we're just building right now. We're lining up content partners such as Racer, and I'm so excited about this first collection with Paul and Racer. Racer is a iconic brand, and the illustrations are beautiful, and I think it's the perfect. And for further down the line, we have our Kuruma tokens and collecting cards that we'll be launching, and we have other partners that are we're discussing with, and it won't none of them are the same, right? Some of them might be video moments, some of them might be commemorative tokens. So it will be super unique and exciting, and I just can't wait to get things rolling next year.
Great. Well, there's no doubt it is a brave new world that we are all entering and learning about. So we'll see where it goes. Best of luck with Kuruma. And Paul, thanks for joining us.
The concept for EPARTRADE is basically, in my opinion, there's a big hole in the internet. So the internet started many years ago, but there's never been an online business community for racers on the World Wide Web. The need for EPARTRADE is actually quite obvious. Basically, people in the business of auto racing need a place online to hang out and get their problems solved.
It's extremely simple for a buyer or for a supplier to interact on the platform. The first thing you need to do is sign in, which is free. And the second thing is, when you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information. If it's a company, you click on request more information, and then from there, it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
You can go to epartrade.com, you become part of a community of businesses in racing, and it makes sourcing products much easier than just on the internet or using Google.
At EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier through an email.
More than that, it's a place to go just to keep current every day. So it's a good place to start your workday in your racing business or in your offices of your professional race team. And you're current when it comes to new technology, industry news, technical papers, technical videos, all of that and more. We're not looking for a million hits per day. All we want is people who are really the volume buyers of racing products in the racing industry to be part of the little world of EPARTRADE. We have racing businesses participating from around the world. So you get suppliers from around the world, you get buyers from around the world.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
There are two types of people, racers and everyone else. Racer Magazine is for those who believe that racing is a way of life. Racer embodies the excellence that defines a sport driven by passion, courage, and ingenuity. Get 1 year of both Racer's print and digital edition for only $39 with instant access to our entire digital issue archive. Subscribe now at info.racer.com.